Hey guys, welcome back on the channel. So this video is going to be about risk in crypto. Risk is going to be ever present. Either if you are a trader or a yield farmer, whatever you're doing, there is risk. But we are focusing on market risk. The risk that you have of holding a token that starts to go down in price. Right now we are on DEX Screener, and DEX Screener aggregates all the DEXs on Solana, but they don't show for whatever reason PancakeSwap. I think it's because PancakeSwap recently launched on Solana, so they haven't yet updated to that to just trace what's happening on chain with PancakeSwap as well. But PancakeSwap is a good option to yield farm on Solana, especially if you have a small bag or if you want to start with a small bag testing the waters. You can start with $100, a couple hundred, and have really good results with high risk pools. Of course, you can also yield farm high risk pools in other exchanges on Solana, like for example Orca. It's my favorite actually. The thing is that PancakeSwap has a ton of incentives, and that is going to necessarily boost your APR, boost your yield. You can see all of these pools here, and we're not even talking about random memes. Actually, all the ones being incentivized here are somewhat of already established coins, altcoins, meme coins on Solana, and also blue chips. But you can see here in the APRs, there's going to be a breakdown of how much of this APR is coming from the incentives, which are paid in Cake. If you never heard about PancakeSwap, Cake is their native token. And whenever you are farming on a given pool, they can pay you Cake. The main difference between Solana and other blockchains, because PancakeSwap also operates in plenty of others, especially Ethereum, Layer 2s and EVM blockchains, but the main difference is that in those, you need to stake your LP tokens. So you first deposit on the pool, then you stake them in order to get these Cake incentives. Here on Solana, everything is much more streamlined. You just need to choose a pool, deposit, and you're already earning both of these tokens and also the Cake rewards. All right, so 3 tokens that you are getting, but regardless, you can find multiple different risk level pools here on PancakeSwap. One of the things about it is that, for example, let's go back here on DEX Screener. Here we see like very recent memes. You see there's some things which are aged a long time. This one is 1 year old. There's plenty of those. And then there's going to be more recent ones. These type of pools that have not been around for a long time, they expose you to recent tokens, high risk. On PancakeSwap, you will not find those. You will find still very profitable farms, very profitable liquidity pools with established memes on Solana. Bonk is one of those cases. Although this pool right now is not being incentivized, recently it was, and it was having triple digits APR. So I'm not sure why recently this changed, or maybe sometimes it's just bugging in the front end, and if you end up depositing, you will see that the APR will show up differently. So you'll have to test it for yourself if you're interested in Bonk, for example, or in Popcat with USDC, which also is showing 0% APR. I don't think this is showing right, to be honest. But these are a couple of examples. Actually, all of this, Bonk, Popcat, Fartcoin, Useless, these are all examples of established meme coins on Solana. They are what I consider to be high risk. Not as high risk as these recent ones though. So this means this type of pools are already somewhat established. If I sort these out by liquidity, we see that, for example, already shows up Fartcoin Sol pools, Popcat Sol pools, Useless, Troll, Vine. So this tells us all of this have deep liquidity. And if you go and look for the age, this is the age of the pool, not necessarily of the token. And even if they are not listed on PancakeSwap here, because DEX Screener doesn't follow PancakeSwap's pools on Solana, like I just said, if it is shown here, if it has deep liquidity, if it has been around for 6 months, a year, it's already a solid token. For example, Useless, this pool has been around for 5 months, but it has been one of the top trending pools in Solana. Whatever pool you find, even if it's on other exchanges, for example, Camino here, it has a solid pair, Camino USDC on Orca, but you can find it as well on PancakeSwap. They will have these more established memes, which are still high risk, but they are on a totally different level if we want to compare them with newer memes. And that is just because they have been around for a while, they keep on generating volume. They will have moments where they do have more volume. For example, let's see the pool charts here. This is just to give you an idea. So let's go with weekly volume. So it only shows 3 weeks here, not sure why, but it already gives you an idea that there are weeks where the volume is higher, there are weeks where the volume is lower. Troll is a very recent addition to the PancakeSwap's farms. So if you go here and check the pool charts, so this is a very recent breakdown, 15 minutes breakdown you see. So every 15 minutes you can see that the volume has been changing. And if you go with week, for the past 3 weeks, we see that the volume has been going up. This is just to show you that the volume will differ over time. There will be moments where markets are hot, it generates more fees, and also moments where the markets are much cooler and they will generate lower fees, okay? So all of the options here, low, medium, and high risk that I'm about to share with you, they will always have one thing in common: the volume is very consistent, and even on cooler periods they will still yield you significant APRs. Of course, you can sort things out by TVL. The deeper the TVL, usually the more solid the token pair is and the less risky. So we have stablecoins here, pair of USDC USDT, both are pegged to the dollar, deep TVL over $32 million because of that, because it's a more solid liquidity pool. People do deposit more into those because there's less risk to it. But also do note that the APR in this case will be fairly low when compared to others, just because of that. In crypto, the higher the risk, the bigger your payout will be. The lower the risk, the lower your payout will be. Sol USDC, it's a great one. This is also low risk, by the way, but it has an impressive triple digits APR consistently over time, guys. I have been doing quite a few videos already about blue chip assets on Solana, and this is one you have to have exposure to if you are bullish on Solana. If you want a yield farm, this is a must-have on your portfolio. But let's start talking and discussing a little bit more about those high risk, high reward pools. So let's start looking at some of those so that you can have an idea of what to look out for and which ones, in my opinion, are high risk but also high reward. For example, a couple of low risk pools would then be, for example, this one, stablecoin pair, right? It doesn't get lower risk than this, I would say, and also the APR then reflects that. It has much lower APRs. But for example, we could go with a blue chip like wrapped Bitcoin, and let's find here the pools that have Bitcoin paired with ETH and also Solana, triple digits APR in blue chip assets. Definitely not something to shy away from. Then Solana also with stable pairs, the ones I just showed you, for example Sol USDC. This one here has triple digits APR, it's even higher than the ones we just saw, and also Sol with USDT. So here it is, also triple digits APR on this one. CBBTC with a stable coin as well, triple digits APR. So these are several pools already for blue chip assets which would be lower risk pools, and all of them are heavily incentivized. Also they have high volume, meaning we will have low risk and high APRs. Blue chip liquidity pools are a great choice for anyone. On the other hand, we can also deploy liquidity with memes or altcoins and increase our risk, but also the potential reward. You can expect high APRs, but plenty of volatility. That's basically all of the positions that are deployed here. All of them are just that, pretty much high risk stuff, narrow ranges. So going back here on liquidity, you see stuff like, for example, Pengu, 800% APR, cards, almost 900% APR, useless, 750, bonk, 200%. This is just cake, by the way. There's plenty of those here as well. So for example, Troll has one that recently they also added on, but you see the APR is just out of this world, over 1000% APR. And Troll has been one of the most bought and sold tokens on Solana recently, which makes it prime choice for yield farming. You can see that just here. The TVL is roughly 1/10 of the volume. So the volume to TVL ratio in this one, it's already great. Plus you'll have some cake incentives to deploy liquidity into this pool. Although, like I said, it's high risk because Troll is a meme coin, so who knows what can happen. Then there is another category of tokens, and there will be necessarily not meme coins, but they're still altcoins, right? But they do definitely have some utility. At least they do play a role in the Solana ecosystem. So I'm talking about things like Cloud, for example, Jito, Camino. There's also one which is Inf. So this is going to be for all of the tokens in this category. This is going to be one which is lower risk because the price is pegged to Solana. Actually, Inf is not a one-to-one direct peg to Sol. There's more to it actually. I'm not gonna go get too technical about it, but basically Infinity Inf token represents a basket of Solana liquid staking tokens like MSOL, BSOL, etc., which are themselves backed by staked Sol, right? So Inf is not a one-to-one peg to Sol, but the value of it is indirectly tied to Solana through the performance of the staked assets. So it's a great option for everyone bullish about Solana and the Solana ecosystem generally. So don't expect crazy APRs because of that. After all, there's less risk to it. So it's necessarily having a lower APR because of that. We're not looking at memes. Again, we're looking at stuff which has some sort of role in the ecosystem, right? And also it is something that has been already massively adopted by people using the ecosystem and who are bullish about Solana in this case. So for example, here it is, Cloud. So this is not a meme coin, right? It has some fundamentals to it. It has some utility, 500% APR in this case. With Jito, I've yield farmed this pool also for a long time. The APRs used to be higher, double than this, but it's not bad as it is, to be honest. So this would be also a really good option. Another one is KMN, Camino. Also very solid incentives on this one. And also if you are here in PancakeSwap, you can also find cake pools. For example, cake here is a pool of cake, or a couple pools there will be just made out of cake, which you cannot find in other dexes on Solana. So if you want to yield farm cake on Solana, you have to go to PancakeSwap. And there's some interesting APRs here. Sol with cake has 200% APR right now. Cake USDC triple digits as well. Cake USDT a little bit lower than that. But all of these examples are of tokens that are associated with big protocols on the Solana ecosystem, except for cake, which is mostly associated with the BNB ecosystem, but that is still, in my opinion, a good option to diversify. And the performance of cake is much more influenced by BNB than Solana, unlike all of the others. So that's why I think it's a good option still for you to diversify, even on the Solana ecosystem. Some of these, like we just saw, will not have high volume, but they are still having high incentives that makes them very much worth to provide liquidity, in my opinion. Also, these are not memes, they are tokens of main DeFi protocols, so there is a level of fundamentals backing each. Therefore, although I don't put them in the same level of blue chips, they're definitely not there, I also do not consider them as risky as memes. So I would say they fit perfectly in their own category and the incentives are really worth it. So overall, you have three different categories: high risk, lower risk, and medium risk, for you to diversify and have some balance in your yield farming portfolio. I would say smaller deposits, like up to a couple $100, will work best for memes, and also stuff like Camino, Cloud. With Jupe, looking at this TVL, you can go a bit heavy on these ones, probably as heavy as you would go with a blue chip assets pool. And in those, the blue chip assets one, the stable pools, like for example this, USDC, USDT, Sol, USDC, Bitcoin pools, all of those. So you see here, CB, BTC, USDC, all of these would be blue chip pools. So you could go a bit heavier on this, because since they have deeper TVL, even bigger deposits won't reflect in a diminishing APR, unlike with the memes that I just showed you. Alright guys, this is what I had for you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you took value from the video, like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching. Take care. I'm going to wrap this one up. Keep exploring crypto. I'll see you on the next one.